Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. We are back with another Captain's Corner. And this is your place to get informed about first steps to recovery and how we help at Safe Harbor to create healthy and safe communities. Our captain is on shore leave. And today I have another special guest. We have Colleen Markus here. Colleen is the Shelter Services Manager. Hi, Colleen. Good morning.
Good morning, Kirsten, and everyone out there.
Yeah. So, my name is Kirsten. I'm the First Mate Marketing at the Harbor. And as always, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and we will get back to you. And today we talk about shelter. I know it has been in the news a lot over the last couple of weeks, months, years. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have Colleen here today. Colleen, can you share a bit about what do you do at the Harbor? How long have you been with the Harbor so that we get to know you better?
Yeah, so I've worked in this field for 25 years, a lot of it in Red Deer, through People's Place Shelter and outreach services and different things. But I've been with Safe Harbor for about 15 years now in many different capacities, from frontline to typically management. So currently I'm the Shelter Services Manager, just sort of overseeing the overall operations of our day and overnight shelter services.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you have seen and experienced a lot at the Harbor. So for the shelter, can you share who are we serving at the shelter? Who is usually coming? What kind of people are using the service?
Yeah, well, Safe Harbor Shelters is what some people would call a wet shelter, which just means we're actually, our funding mandate is to serve people who are actively using substance, but that doesn't mean that everyone is, because of course we always encourage times of recovery whenever they can. So along with that, also those people, it's for men and women over the age of 18, and they typically would have an addiction of some sort and suffering from a mental illness, which could be drug induced or just a organic mental illness. There could be brain injury. There could be lots of mobility issues, lots of medical health-related issues that go along with all of that. So we typically would turn someone under the age of 18 redirect them to the youth shelter.
Yeah.
In town.
So, and how many people are usually at the shelter at any given time?
Well, during the night, our overnight shelter, we typically see anywhere from 70 to, I think we had up to 95 one night a few weeks ago. And that's a 12-hour program. And typically people come in and they stay in for the night. They may leave a little bit early or come back or whatever. And during the day, it's a come and go, drop in. And it's up to around 140, and depending on the time of month and the weather and all that. But that's an in and out. That's not typically at one time, but about 140, 150 per day.
Yeah. And so do you see are people usually coming back, or are this different people all the time? Is it how does that look?
Well, one of the things we're really working on is becoming a housing focused shelter, which means as we get new people coming in to our homeless community, we're trying to get them diverted. We have a shelter diversion position, so we're trying to get them diverted out of the shelter so that they don't get entrenched into it and into housing, or it might mean being, relocating them back to their natural supports in another city or another province. But yeah, we have a lot of people the same people returning, and but new people all the time. Yeah, it's quite a transient shelter. We're always getting new people from other places as well.
Yeah. And so do people get screened? Are there any requirements for them? When they come in, do you have a security on site?
Well, we do have security, but the staff do a basic screening. I mean, we've become accustomed to doing the COVID screening for the past 2 years. And we're currently still doing that because we are on outbreak again for a while. So we're screening them for their temperatures, to, any medical issues, we do a bit of just a visual audio assessment based on what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what is their emotional state that day, what is their substance use, just to give us a heads up of who might need a little bit of extra care and concern, or they might need to sit and talk with someone. But initially, when they first come in new, we do an actual intake and ask them a bunch of questions. And then after they've had an intake done, we just do more of that, one-on-one assessment to see where they're at.
So when you do like the one-on-one assessment, is that to see like what progress they make, or like do they come in and say, hey, I just need something like for overnight, and then once you get to know them, like how do you, I know like we really focus on building connections, like is that where you like put out your and talk to them to find out, do you want to get housed and how can you help? Like how does this?
Well, that happens initially on initial intake, but we have people who haven't had an intake actually done with them for, months, because they've been using our shelter for quite a few months. So for sure, yeah, as people come into the shelter or in and out during the day, we pay a lot of attention to their emotional state, their physical state, their use of substance. And we will, yeah, for sure, we want to connect with them, whether it be, hey, we have a nurse on site, maybe, nurse, can you go and maybe do a little assessment on that person and see if there's something that we're missing here. So the staff are always very vigilant in keeping eyes on people, just to, things can change pretty quickly. Someone could come in a very strong, sort of upbeat, and then within a couple of hours be sitting at a table with their head down and maybe something's happened. Maybe they're falling into a depression or something. So we're always trying to pay attention. We have staff on the floor who just sort of walk around and connect with people. But the initial assessment at the door is a very quick sort of one-on-one. You're coming in, we're just paying attention to how you're doing at the moment. And if there's any red flags, then we'll share that with the team. It's a very busy place, in and out a lot during the day.
Yeah. So have you, like you mentioned, like that quickly, like the state of someone, how they are feeling can change. Like, did you have any overdoses at all at the shelter?
Yeah, it's a pretty regular occurrence. So that's another reason why someone may come in at a certain level of intoxication or drug use in the morning, and then they go out and they come back in, and we can tell that they've been using some substance. So that's where we keep the eyes on people. But yes, we have calls to overdoses all the time. It might be inside, it might be at a table, it might be in the washroom. More typically, it would be outside, maybe in the parking lot or sort of on the stairs.
Wow. And so in that case, like that's why we have nurses on site. So are the nurses able to help that person then, or do you also need like extra help? Like, do they have to go to the hospital afterwards, or how does that usually work?
Well, yeah, our nurses take the lead in that, and if we need help from detox, we'll radio a code blue, and usually the detox nurse will come over as well, and occasionally we'll get assistance from OPS, but they're usually pretty busy with their own things. So the nurse takes the lead, security helps out. We'll have one staff or as many as we need to help. And so, yeah, quite often we call EMS, and sometimes they go, sometimes they're just assessed and sort of released. So
yeah. And so last week we talked with Sandy, and I know like she mentioned that before we moved in the big building at Canary Roll, like there was like just a small space for people to put their belongings. So how do we do this now? Like do we have an extra space for their clothes and everything? How is it organized?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. We do, but we're trying to stay away from that. Years back, not that many years back, people would come in with a couple of backpacks, And once we got into the larger space and we had space to store people's belongings, we started seeing suitcases and big carts and stuff coming to be stored. So we're trying to revert back to the 2 backpack rule, because we really do not have the space. And people leave, they leave the city, they leave the province, and we don't always know. So we really hate to get rid of people's stuff, but we'll only keep it for a length of time, and then we're going to dispose of it. And it's just making people and helping people, downsize what they're carrying around with them in order to sort of fit into that 2 backpack, expectation. Again, if someone's moving into housing, if we know they have housing coming up, or they're connected with a housing worker and they have extra stuff, we'll keep it in the back for them. We're very flexible, and every situation's kind of different, but yeah, we had what our captain called the airport in the back at one point, and we certainly had to get rid of that. So
yeah. It actually did look like an airport when I visited the other day. Yeah. So do people get food and something to beverage as well, or do they have to bring their own?
We usually have sandwiches that we give out for our MAT program at night, because we find that offering a little bit of food helps people to settle a bit better, on their mat. There are meals every day except Sunday. There are suppers every day except Sunday in the community and at the soup kitchens. So we really encourage people to go and use them. The soup kitchens we do receive some hot meals, maybe 12 or 15 hot meals every day for those who can't. So we have those delivered, and we get quite a few donations. There's a few different places in Red Deer who bring us their day old stuff, sandwiches and little pizzas and things a couple of times a week. And we do get sandwiches from the Mustard Seed every single day that we give out at MATS. So it really depends. Sometimes we have lots. It's usually feast or famine. We're always being mindful to keep those sandwiches for the MATS program. So it really does depend. We do our best. We've got lots of water, and occasionally we'll give out some tea.
Yeah. But we don't have a kitchen.
We do not have a kitchen.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. We do have microwaves, so we're often heating up food for people, but no kitchen. No.
And so do you have, with so many years at the harbor, I'm sure you have tons of different stories that you could share, but is there one that, I don't know, you remember that you think would be worthwhile to share?
Yeah, we have really so many. I think one of the ones that has really touched the heart of multiple staff over the last year happened about a year ago. We had one fellow we were constantly putting a ban on him because he was using in the shelter, and just couldn't seem to get a handle on that. And so we put a ban on him. We'd had multiple bans on him, and this time, and usually he would come and, want to talk to me and ask me to lift it early. And this time I said, no, I'm not lifting it. So I think it was a 2-week ban on him. And the next day he went into detox, because he really didn't want to be out away from the shelter all that time. So he went into detox, and then he called me about 6 days in saying, please remove my ban. And I thought, no, I'm not doing that. So I said no. And within 2 weeks, he had started a treatment, Suboxone, for his addiction. And that was a year ago. Since then, he's been living with his grandmother, and he is clean and sober, and he's put on like 40 pounds, and he's so healthy. So he comes in and visits on occasion. We're so happy to see him. So that was a hard call, because I really wanted to lift the ban, and yet something said, don't do it this time. And that was his motivation to make that change. So, you really don't know. So that's just one of, we've got some really heartwarming stories, some tear-jerking stories. Recently, we provided care for a couple of months to a gentleman who was at end of life, and we actually provided nursing care and support for him in shelter until he ended up in the hospital, and he has since passed away. But that was an incredible stretch and experience for not only the staff, but also the clients who were quite familiar with this fellow. and the care and concern that they showed and the extra mile they went for him, even overlooking many of his behaviors at first. And that was a real community, sort of wraparound of support and care for this guy. And it was really, that was a heart-wrenching time for us, but something that we learned a lot from that. It was really,
I'm just imagining. Wow. I just had another question coming up, Colleen. So with the overnight shelter and so with the mats, like how is there a different space where they sleep, or do you have, let's say, during the day there are tables and at night there are mats? How is this organized?
Well, right now, currently, we have day and night sleep. So the mats are now down in the same space as the tables are. So we have about 35, 45 people sleeping throughout the day in basically the same space that there are up to 140 people sitting at tables at different times. So, and the reason for that is because we have a very large space. We have thought multiple times that we were leaving that space and having to move back into our old building. So once we found out that we were staying there for a couple of years, now we're looking at doing some renovations to create some sort of division for the two programs. So we'll have to see.
Yeah,
we'll have to see where that goes. I'm not sure yet, but
well,
it's been interesting.
Yes, very interesting. So do you have anything else to share, Colleen, that you would like people to know that we haven't touched on today?
Just maybe that, I'm not going to lie and say there aren't a lot of challenges in, managing a shelter and being part of this community. We try to keep balanced in our care and concern for the community around us, as well as to the people that we provide service to. And sometimes that doesn't, sometimes I have to really help the staff get to that point where they can see how some of the people that we serve can create some concerns in our community, with their behaviors and whatnot. But so it's a balance, I think the moving towards a housing focused shelter is, to me, the very most respectful thing we can do for people. So helping them get housed, helping get them out of that shelter system so that they're not entrenched there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. There's always going to be some who are. There's going to be some who are transient and move from shelter to shelter across the province. But everyone deserves a home. And we've been seeing a huge change with some of our partners coming in and actually working directly with people in the shelter, like Street Connects and Turning Point's doing a really good job as well. But they're helping people, certain group of people, lower their acuity. So it might be someone who's using crystal meth and is in psychosis, for 6 months, off and on for 6 months or more. And then Street Connects will come in and work with them and maybe get them on some medication, which lowers their acuity and brings them that much closer to being housing ready. So it's a long process for so many people. So anyone, and we are going to support that and work with people and not put that expectation that they jump from point A to point Z, immediately, that we realize that there is a continuum of care, that there's a continuum of housing needs that they have and resources and support. And so anyone that we can catch as they're newly come into the homeless situation and get them diverted out of shelter is some work that we're really going to be focusing on. And just telling people, hey, I had a conversation with a man a couple of days ago that said, hey, you deserve a home. A home. I said, not just housing. So let's stop calling it housing. You deserve a home where you can put your heart into that place, and you can welcome the company that you want to have there, that you've got your own key. And he's staring at me because typically we call it housing. And I thought, no, this is a home. And that goes to the heart. and people deserve a home, not just housing. So
yeah. Yes.
yeah.
That is so beautiful, Colleen. And you know what? This is really like not the housing makes it so, I don't know, institutional kind of feeling.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it really like finding a home where you can put your heart, you have a key, you can invite
Right.
family and feel joyful and happy so that you can,
That's right.
yeah. So this is so important.
That's our hope. That's our hope for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colleen, for joining today, for joining the Captain's Corner today. And thank you for everyone for following us live. And again, if there is anything else that you guys would love to know, please put it in the comments and Colleen and I will get back to you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Colleen.
Thank you.
You have an awesome day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye. And please don't forget, if you don't follow us yet on Facebook, please do that. We also have a YouTube channel where we post all of our finished lives, and you will have them all combined and can visit and can watch them, can rewatch them. And we are looking forward to see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.